Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to episode 6 of Sing Fu Shan, my Chinese-inspired planet coaster miniature. And we are finally starting to make some progress now. I know in the last episode, I got those two buildings in the front area. The front area now is starting to come together. I'm getting more ideas about how I want this to look, and I'm actually thinking about expanding the concept of the park just a little bit. Originally it was just supposed to be mainly a suspended coaster and the area around it. I'm thinking of adding, and I was going to have one other flat, but I think I'm also going to add a flume into this, just because I haven't done one in a while and they're always fun to do, and I think it would be fun to theme a flume in this style. And I'm also adding an entry plaza, which you'll see at the very end of this episode, just the beginnings of it. I'm going to try to do something fairly sophisticated for that, more so than what I usually do. But first, the bulk of this episode is going to be taken up by this building I'm making here. Now, this is heavily inspired by... inspired is a good way of putting it. It's basically a copy of a building I found online. Here you can see a picture of it, and basically what I'm just doing here is I figured I would use this in the entry and put it around the Pai Fong and use it as a cover for a food stall or for the staff buildings. So I fooled around with it for quite some time, and I have to say I think that ultimately this ends up being the best thing that I've created in Planet Coaster to date. I am getting better at this game. I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm taking more time with everything I'm doing, and I really feel like this really turns out to be one of the best buildings that I have made to date. So I'm excited after saying that and after seeing what I can do with this, and I'm really pushing myself as well. So I'm excited to see what I can do as we get more farther along in this park, especially as we get to the station of the coaster, because that's supposed to be really the stellar standout building in the park, as well as the ride skin I'm doing for the flat ride. That's going to be really outstanding as well. So I'm really happy with the way this came out. You can let me know what you think in the comments, of course, once we get finished with it. You'll see as we go along here, I'm just doing various things, adding various pieces to try to make it look decorated, while not exactly trying to duplicate anything. I'm just trying to give the feel of what it would look like for a Chinese building. And I did struggle a long time with the roof on this, because I have finally figured out how to do those flying eaves perfectly. I know how to do them now. They come out looking really well, which you'll see here. They really look authentic. The one problem I was having a lot of trouble with was because I was trying to do the vertical element that is usually present in Chinese buildings, and I think that it's typically made to look like bamboo. Here you can see that we're getting started on the flying eaves, and as soon as I get started basically filling this in, you'll see how much better it looks than the older versions that we did. So I was having a lot of trouble with the vertical elements. I was trying a lot of different pieces. Now, I had seen someone on the Bro Coaster Discord channel do something that looked really good, and I was trying not to copy his technique just because I wanted to do something unique. But ultimately, I just ended up using what he had done. He said it was fine. He wasn't concerned about it. His name is Alxou, by the way. He is working on the Asian area of the Bro Park that a bunch of users on that Discord server have joined together to do, and their area looks really great so far. So shout out to him. Thanks for letting me use your technique. I really appreciate it, and it really worked well in the building. So you'll see that at the end of this video. It just kind of jumps ahead, because what happened was I finished up the building, and I was happy with it, posted it on the server, got some feedback, and someone suggested, why don't you just use his technique? So eventually I did end up using it. So we kind of jump ahead to that, and I also end up making the building a little shorter and squatter, because I thought the proportions were just a little bit off. So you'll see most of that at the end, but you do see what I'm doing here just to get most of it going, and it comes out well. It really looks good. So one other thing I'm thinking of doing, well, I am going to do actually, because I'm going to have to end up making a lot of these flying eaves, and they're kind of a pain in the ass to make. Even though the technique that I borrowed uh, from Alxou is makes it much simpler. I think what I'm going to do is just make some modular pieces so I can piece these together much more quickly. I'll make a whole set of them, a modular piece set, and I'll just be able to piece things together much more quickly and not spend hours and hours and hours working on these roofs, because it just doesn't make any sense. Especially now that I've got the technique down, I really understand how to do it. So I'm going to do that, and what I'll probably do is release that as a set if anyone is interested. So if you are interested in that, let me know. Once I'm finished with this, I'll go ahead and release that. So let's see. Well, I've said I'm expanding the park, and I've got some good ideas about how working with terrain and working at different heights and so forth. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to come out. I think it's going to be the best thing I've done so far. Otherwise, I don't have too much to say about this build. I'm just going to continue working on this building. You'll see that when we get to the end. I might actually step back in at the end and just talk through what my idea about the entryway is. But for now, let's just have some music, and I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, so you see that we just jumped ahead, and if you look closely at the building right there, you can see that the roof looks much different. Not the Pai Fong, that's done. I'm not doing it again, but the actual buildings here on the side are completely different. The roofs look really great, I have to say. The whole thing just looks good. I think it really looks Chinese. It looks very authentic to me. Of course, if anyone thinks it doesn't and has suggestions on how I can improve it, I'll be glad to hear it. But for right now, I'm just creating a sort of a stone entry point for here in the entryway, and then we're going to have buildings around it and shops and so forth where people can buy fast passes, go to the bathroom, anything like that. I have noticed in the courtyards of a lot of Chinese walled cities and so forth, they tend to be stone, wide expanses of stone. So I'm going to basically go for that, but also make it a little more fancy, a little more nice to look at. But that's it for now. So here are the glamour shots. That's probably what you're waiting for. But I will talk to you next time. Take care and enjoy the ride.